What if your friend told you her ex-boyfriend was a convicted criminal and almost ended her life? You'd cut him off, right? Allegedly not for James Charles. Someone is even alleging he was into his friend's ex. But how true is this? Let's break it all down. James is being accused of associating with Kayla Malec's abusive ex, Evan Johnson, trying to silence an alleged witness with legal pressure, showing a pattern of pursuing younger straight men. Again, Evan is 20 while James is 25. Here's how the story unfolded. Back on April 4th and 10th, Kayla released 2 deeply personal videos exposing the extent of the abuse she suffered during her 9-month relationship with Evan Johnson. I will preface this by saying Evan has been arrested on DV charges made by Kayla on May 7th, 2025. So in these videos by Kayla, totaling nearly 4 hours, she explained her ex's pattern of control.
It's literally just annoying. It's the second you get on live and then you go through my phone. Like, that's just weird in my opinion.
And that I'm not allowed to talk to any man ever. Doesn't matter.
Emotional manipulation.
The night he was calling me these names, he had 3 girls over and then his 2 other friends over at his apartment that night, and they were all drinking, and I confronted him about it when I saw it, and he got mad at me about it and said, why am I overthinking? So
repeated public humiliation.
He looks at this and me talking to this guy, and he immediately thinks, oh, she wants to f him, and starts going up to all of my friends at this party and other influencers at this party who I know, and goes up to them and is like, do you see that that blonde girl over there? Yeah, that's my girlfriend. She'll f any guy here. And is doing this for about an hour.
And escalating DV.
Oh my god.
Good. Did you get by big black niggas? I hope so, you
including near-death experiences.
He looks me in the eyes and starts me as hard as he can everywhere. And I know that he wouldn't have stopped if, after a minute of this happening, Emma woke up, heard me screaming, and opened the door and saw him on top of me. Genuinely, if Emma was not home those 2 nights, I think there would have been a funeral. So.
And one of the disturbing aspects of Kayla's account was the way Evan masked the abuse early on with love bombing.
And he didn't care about anybody, but for some reason he cared about me. And it made me feel like the most special person in the room.
A manipulation tactic used by abusers to gain emotional control by showering their victims with praise, affection, and promises, as Kayla heartbreakingly summarized.
I was his job and then punching bag. He didn't love me. He hated me from the day he met me, and I never knew who he was. If you date anybody who's like this, he does not love you. He does not care about you. If he can hit you, he can kill you. This is not normal.
If you haven't seen her videos, I highly recommend you check them out after watching this. She speaks of a lot more instances of Evan being manipulative and abusive. By watching her video, you could learn about the warning signs, whether that's for looking out for yourself or loved ones. And as I've mentioned earlier, the courts sided with Kayla.
And just like that, justice was served.
He's doing 1.5 years. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, he deserves a lot more time. Trust me, I know. He had probation violation and a DUI. So max he could face, like max for all of those charges, was 5 years. And if we took it to trial and fought for it, could have gotten 5 years. But 1.5 years is him serving the full sentence for me plus some time. So I was like, yeah.
Kayla's videos made it impossible to ignore who Evan really is. So anyone still supporting him would be deeply troubling. Influencer Zack Sellars, a former close friend of Evan's, alleged beauty guru James Charles was one of those people.
The reason that he's involved is because JC was already warned, told, and given information from Kayla the day that she broke up with Evan, that what he had done to her and how bad he was and how things got bad. There was a comment back to her, and it was along the lines, can I have him now? Those lines were just, I guess she thought that was a joke.
Zack later uploaded a TikTok claiming James was trying to silence him.
JC has reached out to me through DMs on Instagram. I have not posted any of that. One of those DMs, he was saying, I'd really appreciate if you could take down your videos until we have an opportunity to talk. Sorry again, it took me so long to see your message. Coachella is the busiest time of the year for me.
Zack then proceeded to expose more suspicious behavior, although he didn't come with solid evidence.
So James, I'm calling you out. Let's talk about whenever we were in the car and you were FaceTiming, Evan all the time. You remember the time when you were just talking about how fat your AF was? You remember talking so badly and poorly about Kayla and pretty much hyping Evan up that he wasn't in the wrong, that he won out of this? Like, let's talk about the time when we were on FaceTime and then you hung up and then you sent a message on Instagram and says, I have a big surprise for you when you get home. Just remember, I went home with Evan, so I saw everything. You remember the photos you sent? Multiple photos.
On April 29th, Zack spoke up again in a 55-minute interview with Bee Better, providing screenshots of his DMs with James. In one DM, James wrote, I only ever spoke to Evan because he manipulated me into thinking his situation was similar to what I went through. So it was a really personal and sensitive topic that I had empathy for. As soon as I saw Kayla's video, I felt disgusting and awful, and I've stopped responding to him altogether. He was obviously manipulating and lying to everyone. I don't think it's fair you're making a video accusing me of being some monster when he had you convinced too. The interview also addressed a few TikToks Zack made, including his advice to Evan.
This is coming from Evan, but since she has such a huge fan base, it's really hard to get my truth out. JC told me to be quiet as long as I can, no matter what.
And Evan's alleged 3-day stay at James's home.
Evan flew to California to see and stay with JC on February 28th. He stayed until March 3rd.
Zack showed this DM from James. I originally did tell him he shouldn't respond because he's an effing dumbass and would never be able to defend himself, and showed photo evidence of Evan's alleged boarding pass for February 28th. In addition to these, Zack also claimed Evan frequently expressed fear of Kayla going public. Evan allegedly lied about being nearly finished with probation. He supposedly just got put on probation for his previous crime unrelated to Kayla. But the craziest part about the interview was about James and Evan's dynamic. Zack allegedly saw suggestive messages and photos sent between the two.
James bent over on his bed with his ass up in the air and didn't say anything in the first picture. Then messages like, how do you like that, daddy? The next picture was like James was bent over completely on the bed and said, Daddy, I want your big.
James and Evans allegedly crossed the lines during that February trip, and Evan allegedly spilled everything when they were out drinking.
So I was like, so what all happened? Like, what'd you guys get to do? And he was like, well, all we done was off together. Then he goes, money's money.
But Zack didn't provide proof of transactions, so we don't know the validity of this right now. During that same confession, Evan was supposedly so drunk that Zack ended up seeing a video of Evan and James allegedly getting even more intimate.
It was a very quick clip, and it was actually on Snapchat in his memories. And they did have, you could hear James calling Evan daddy and moaning.
Zack alleged James pursued Evan despite knowing about Kayla's abuse.
He obviously even told Evan, like, you're everything that, like, I look for in a guy. You have abs, you work out, you take care of yourself, you're super tall, and, you know, you're a man.
And lastly, this familiar theme popped back up.
You're coercing someone who I believe to be straight.
As far as I know his sexuality, Evan was straight.
Which is actually James Charles's type, which introduces some issues of consent.
If what Zack said about James in the interview is true, and if James was informed about Evan's abuse, then it's not just a violation of girl code, it's genuinely gross and disturbing. Following these accusations, on May 6, James lost around 100K subscribers on YouTube and lost around 800K followers on TikTok from May 3rd to 6th. And in a strange turn of events, Zack's TikTok account looked like it got hacked and is now deleted. Then, on May 7th, the same day Evan was charged in court, James tried to explain his side of the story in a 10-minute TikTok. He accused Zack of using this serious issue for his own gain.
Every single night, Zack has been live asking for galaxies in exchange for showing more receipts. He's been asking his followers for their cities and locations so he can go on tour with Kayla after this is all over with. He's even been asking for donations on PayPal to fund a merch line. This has nothing to do with getting justice for Kayla and everything about making an opportunity for himself.
James denied any intimate relationship with Evan, including paid transactions.
But to publicly accuse them of prostitution is ridiculous. There is no proof, no evidence of any of the ridiculous claims that Zack is making because they did not happen, which is why I have no choice other than to take legal action. Evan Johnson and I did not, in any way, shape, or form, have a physically sexual relationship. We did not have sex while he was here, and I did not, under any circumstances, pay Evan Johnson for favors, not in person and certainly not online through a secret OF account. Zack, post it. If you have the receipt, if you have the video evidence, you can upload it. You have my full consent and permission.
James explained how he was misled by Evan early on, but he caught on faster than Zack.
He seemed vulnerable. He seemed real, and he seemed scared that Kayla was going to get online and start telling lies about him.
If I was such this terrible guy, why would she be with me? She could have left me at any second. She's way more up there than me. She's has more money, like all this stuff. She don't need me. She don't need me. And if she figured I was no good for her in the time being, she would have left immediately. I promise you that. She exaggerates. And she figured out her views, or she's like, I need to make a series. I need to do something.
We were both told the same exact lies and stories from Evan. It took me 3 days with Evan to realize that something wasn't right here. It took Zack 3 months.
James also addressed Evan's time at his house.
All we did was sit on the couch, order food, watch movies, but over the course of the weekend, I slowly started to notice that some of his stories were not exactly lining up.
And explained his turning point came when he saw Kayla's YouTube videos about Evan.
My jaw was on the floor for all 2 hours of that video. I could not believe what I was watching and seeing. I was ashamed for not taking me and Kayla's conversation more seriously. I was embarrassed for ever believing that man's lies and manipulation, and I was angry with myself that I ever allowed that man into my home.
James denied the accusations that he paid Evan's bail during April when he was initially arrested.
It is a public record that it was Evan's family who got him out. Kayla's own sister has confirmed this.
JC did not bail out EJ. I know who did.
Regarding Zack's accusation that he was being silenced and offered hush money, James said,
My lawyers cannot contact you directly, so instead they emailed your modeling agency because that is the only contact you have listed. There was no threat, there was no offer, they were simply asking for the contact of your lawyers.
He also called out Bee Better for adding a disclaimer to their interview.
Because he's now added a disclaimer to their interview that says he was not able to verify a single thing that Zack said.
But maybe this was for legal reasons? Finally, James affirmed he stands by Kayla, not Evan.
I do not support Evan Johnson in any way, shape, or form, and let me make that fucking clear. I don't support him, I don't support violence against women, and I sure as hell do not support the disgusting, deplorable, violent, heinous acts that he committed against Kayla Malec behind closed doors. As for Kayla, I am so sorry that I ever got involved in this. I should have never believed his lies and manipulation. I should have never even responded back to him in the first place, and I'm sorry for hurting you.
He clarified that his initial silence was out of concern for Kayla's legal process against Evan at the time.
This is going to court this week. Anything I or anybody else says online can and probably will be used by either Evan's defense attorney or the judge to affect the outcome of its ruling. And I didn't want to put Kayla at any risk for that.
James also responded to a TikTok comment about him saying, "Can I have him now?" to Kayla. He wrote, "I was trying to make a joke to lighten the mood, but definitely not appropriate." James also shared his DMs with Zack, which revealed Zack initially being friendly with James, such as calling him handsome in 2023, despite James's grooming allegations, which happened in 2021. Zack later repeatedly warning James about Evan after he found out that Evan was a liar and manipulator. James also shared his messages with Kayla, attempting to show he was speaking in a joking manner. But it sorta makes him look tone deaf. He did, however, apologize multiple times to Kayla in that same conversation after she mentioned Evan did the most worst things a human can do and his lies and abuse. Despite all of this, a lot of people were still suspicious of James. I think he is severely downplaying his relationship with Evan. They hung out, ate food, and watched movies. Right. Like, why even invite him? He was not close to Kayla, but close enough to Evan to invite him to his home and just chill for 3 days? He's so fake. If I had a friend and she was going through a breakup, I wouldn't invite her man to my house after she just said he's crazy. Like, what? While others brought up his past controversy where he allegedly groomed minors. First, he allegedly tried to get with minors, and now he's actively trying to get with an abuser? How the F does James Charles still have a platform? Predators protect predators. Kayla's sister even posted this TikTok, making the entire situation more complicated. James, you are guilty. She has since posted a follow-up video explaining.
Everyone's saying, oh no, James stuff, like his video's so true, like, you know, everything, he didn't stutter once. You know that man is a manipulator. And yes, I understand that he could not share the video until he went to jail, right? Obviously. But what I meant is that he had to post it an hour after he went into jail. He couldn't give Kayla a day. And he is so good at manipulating because everyone believed him and forgot about when all the minor stuff happened.
Some people found it strange for Ashley to bring up the grooming allegations because Kayla still chose to collaborate with James a few times. But maybe Ashley was just expressing her own opinion. Maybe she was always against James. But like she said, many are still showing their support for James. You can never make me hate James Charles. He literally gave receipts. What? Guilty of what though? He didn't commit a crime. I believe him. And to no surprise, if we look back at his following, by May 8th, he gained over 200,000 TikTok followers. We could infer that these were people who forgave him, or a mix of new followers who know nothing about the Kayla Evans situation. And just when you thought that was all, Zack himself is being called out for the very thing he accused James of.
Now, me and Zack Sellars have interacted before when I was a minor and he was a full-grown adult lying about his age. Now, at the time of these, I was only 14 years old, another one, and now this one is when I was still 14, and with proof and a timestamp that I found that he was lying about his age. Not only would he do that, he would ask for pictures constantly and send unsolicited pictures of himself.
As you may have noticed, the screenshots Devin shared were Cash App payments, but with no proof of what he was being paid for. Many people felt something was off about Zack too. Literally everything Zack has been accusing James of is 100% projection. Even the sending money thing. That's so weird. Also, Zack is roughly 25-26. He would have been 20 or 21 when he texted this Devin guy. He was best friends with an abuser for years, was in James Charles' DMs multiple times, is trying to profit off Kayla's abuse. Are we actually surprised he is who he is? However, some people shifted the focus back to James. Even if Zack is a bad person, it doesn't take away from the fact that James Charles has been approaching the wrong people to be intimate with. While all of this was happening, people noticed Evan's Snapchat was still active, and he was continuing to promote his OF page, which, by the way, still had a lot of people liking his photos as recent as May 10th. Actually, his first post goes back to April 25th, amid the accusations made by Kayla. This behavior of posting on Snapchat and promoting his pages could be a tactic to make it seem like he's not in jail. But the public records show that he's guilty. Yes, he was bailed on April 7th when he was initially arrested, but after pleading guilty in court on May 7th, he now is serving his time in jail. An update, as of May 11th, Evan's OF page is now down. It's not clear if this was the platform's choice or his choice. It seems this is far from over. Before her court case, Kayla made this video, seeming to hint that she might talk about the James and Zack situation after.
I can't say much because I want to wait till after court. But I know. And, oh yeah, I've seen what's trending. I don't know. I am speechless. I'm speechless. And watch who you trust. As if him wasn't enough. Ah!
So what are your thoughts? Do you think James is telling the truth? Or are the screenshots and TikTok videos too loud to ignore?